friends. Welcome to Misc Mondays with, hi, I'm Jen, and that's Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm drinking coffee.
Yes. I forgot my coffee. I have water. I need to drink water. We'll drink with water. We'll stick with water. And before we get started on today's random topics, y'all can tell I cannot multitask and are hitting the "we're live" thing. I'll post in a group. Why not? LinkedIn always asks me if I want to post in a group. I'm like, okay, I don't care. I'll spam this group.
What's a group in a LinkedIn context?
There's like there's like groups you can join, and like premium career group is where I just posted this.
Cool.
I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah, but there's also like developers, Python web. I should invite you to this one. Can I invite people?
I don't hang on. I mostly don't fuck with LinkedIn.
I dig it. I only do anything on it because of the stream. So that's about as far as I get. I'm not very exciting.
Do we get traffic from LinkedIn? Do you know?
I don't stream from LinkedIn. I used to, and I did get traffic, but a lot of people do find it because of LinkedIn. More of like the CTO type people.
Okay.
Because some like those higher level roles I've noticed, and hi homie, I'm not ignoring you. But those higher level roles don't always like use Twitter as much. I don't know. It's been really, really hit or miss. So I just post to both. I have found people because they have been like, they use LinkedIn and have shared it because of LinkedIn. So I'm like, works for me. I will continue to post. But
cool.
how was your stream? You streamed last week.
Yeah, it went super well. I was interviewing Andy Piper. Let me grab a link to that, I guess. Andy had so much info to share.
Yay.
About MicroPython and versions of Python that can run in small environments. And so MicroPython, that's really what it means. It means that it can run without taking up a ton of space. And so if you're trying to run on like a microcontroller, like if you've heard of Arduino, then you can use, I think it's actually Circuit Python that you would use on Arduino, but actually, no, you can do both. Or like if you're making, so something I would be interested in is writing my own IoT type devices, because I have Nest devices, but the city I'm in is in the San Francisco Bay Area, and the city of San Francisco, so not my city, but a nearby city, voted recently, not the citizens of San Francisco, but the Board of Supervisors, the board voted to make it so that the police can tap into your private security systems, like without a warrant.
That's not cool.
No. And like I bought Nest instead of Ring because I did not want to be part of the police state. Right. And so then they're just basically saying the police get to log into these things regardless, whether Google wants to hand over your data or not. Like they just get to tap in. Which is complete bullshit, right? And so I kind of want to make my own IoT, like my own cameras and whatever at some point. So that's something that MicroPython would be potentially useful for, because like it's literally a tiny environment. If you're talking about something like a chip that's fitting in your little camera or whatever, literally small.
Could it still record?
So the recording would happen on like a server. So it would send the data, but I can have my own database.
Okay.
Like locally, I can have my own.
Okay, I think that would be the only thing that I would be cautious about is like, how do you make a record?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, or you could record to the cloud, but if you're not using something like Google Assistant, or I mean, you could even use those assistants, but if you're not using Nest or Ring or whatever, like there isn't an interface that the police would know about to use to
Mm-hmm.
get in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd
Interesting.
be fine. Yeah.
Ben, you're gonna be on Laura's stream and my stream.
Yes. Oh yeah, I was looking for a link to the thing and then I got talking about the MicroPython. Oh, and MicroPython is relevant to WebAssembly because WebAssembly is a runtime that can run in teeny tiny places as well. And so that's exciting because I work for a company that works in the WebAssembly space.
I was gonna say though, like
for.
that is really creepy.
Oh, the San Francisco thing. I was like, what? I'm a nerd.
It's okay. This is why we have our Misc Mondays. Hey, look, I got our background updated. Yes. In StreamYard to go to our Twitches. Our Twitch eye?
I think it would be Twitches.
Twitches? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's Greek because it's Greek stuff where you would it's if the word base comes from the wait, no, it's the other way around.
Weird.
Oh shit, I can't remember which way it goes. Is it the Latin gets pluralized sometimes with an I or the Greek? It's one or the other. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Sorry.
ridiculously distracted. Look, it only changed going to my background color going to red. But if I go to pink, it's almost the same. It looks blue.
Huh.
And I just changed it to blue, and it's just slightly deeper blue. Let's go white. There we go.
Way goofy.
I was trying to think of a different color to match our new stream colors. And Ben just said usually Latin is responsible for weird I plurals. I dash I plurals.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
things
it's
you
the
learn.
Latin, and then it's the Greek that doesn't go that way. So yeah, so that's why it's octopuses, not octopi. That's what it is. What? Oh.
I'm a 12-year-old. It's okay.
Yes, same.
Well, hello again, everybody, to Misc Mondays. Laura is gonna find the link to her stream last week.
I'm typing it in the Twitch chat.
Yay. Wait. I have a hot take about the octopus pluralization thing. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Ben says TLDR, octopuses, octopi, octopeds are all fine. Interesting.
I think the same, honestly.
Octopeds?
Octopodes.
Podes?
Yes.
Podes. Okay, octopodes. I don't know how, but I am very, very happy that whenever we stream, it somehow comes on language and how to pronounce things. And Ben said that they are happy to go to Pat for octopi from a Latinist perspective any day. Wait. Octopodes. What? I'm not good at sounding things out, so I'm just gonna hide this and pretend. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. But thank you, Ben. And okay, so today, what do we want to talk about?
You said a thing before we started.
I did.
My brain is not with us today. It's it's around here somewhere.
I'm cool with bullshitting the entire time because I think it's
Oh, it was ducks. That's what it was.
Yeah, or we can do technical documentation, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know how much concentration I want to do, but that is the fun of Mondays. We get to choose. Then also, I wanted to say thank you to Homie for making our background and our graphic for our streams, because you're way better at it than I am.
Yep. We let us know what we can do for you, Homie, because we're not about that free labor.
No, we are not. No, we are not. Homie does a lot of random stuff for everyone. Like Homie, oh my gosh. Okay, we need to go. Did you see Tuesday's stream by chance, Laura? Okay, first off, it was with Jay about VS Code, which was super dope. I suggest everyone watch it.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
And then we got to see Homie's app. Theme manager. Theme. It also looks like theme anger, so we all know. Ben, it was because of your stream that Homie found me. Because Ben gave me a shout out on their stream.
Oh yeah, so Ben's going to be on my stream next week, a week from tomorrow. I've got it scheduled, but I hadn't posted about it yet, but I can grab the link anyway. Here we go. And we're going to be talking about accessibility in docs. Because I write docs for a living. And I have run into some questions like beyond like, okay, I need to make, an alt text for this image, some like nuances about that. Like, is there like still a purpose for an image? Do we just not like do these, or what? Like screenshots of things, that kind of thing. So we'll see.
Now I'm intrigued. And Ben, you asked me what I wanted to talk about on my stream with you, and now I want to talk about it. But more like as like, how do you create docs? But then like if we just like tie in like, hey, here's how to create docs. So including the accessibility stuff. Interesting.
Oh, I didn't realize that Ben also builds a doc site.
I think I feel like I knew this and forgot. So it's like exciting new news for me, but then at the same time I'm going, I should have known they do that. Because I forget that Ben works at Microsoft.
Didn't know that either.
Oh, well, hey. They work at Microsoft Learn, formerly Microsoft Docs.
Sweet.
Okay. Yes. Because I got really excited when I realized that Jay and Ben both work at Microsoft.
Oh, right.
And I was like, do you guys know each other? I don't remember what they said, but I hope they know each other now because they're both amazing humans.
It's a big world, like the opposite of a small world, obviously, right? Like at Microsoft, you know what I mean?
It's a small world after all. Y'all, that was my favorite ride in the entire Disney thing. It was a small world. In case anybody wanted to know. Do you have a stream this week other than this one?
No.
Tomorrow. Oh, as a random thing, before I go, Ben said they didn't know each other at the time, but we had a family chat. I can't read friendly chat in Teams now. You can be a family chat too. And Grat said, Sleeping at Last does a beautiful cover of The Small World. Ooh, please post the link.
Ooh.
As a random thing, with Jason being on the show last week, which for those who may not have seen last Friday's, as well as know who Teach with Jason is, I am grabbing the link. He was on the show last week, and we talked about rebuilding a website on Netlify.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
And it was actually really cool because he was talking about some streaming stuff that he does, and like auto generating. How did he say it? I think I'm paraphrasing horribly, but there is a tool within Netlify that you can upload the photos and it will use the information to create the graphic.
Oh.
And I feel like I also heard of this during Next Nation when I was emceeing that last week. So I feel like I heard it from two different spots, and now I need to go investigate it. But that is also something that, yes, Ben said it. Cloudinary.
Mm-hmm. I have to check out that too. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we can talk, like I can talk a little bit about docs, and we can see how much attention span we have and make no promises.
I dig it. And thank you, Ben, for
Cool.
posting that. Here's a stream from last week, too. And thank you for the It's a Small World cover. I feel like I need a. We've got it. All right. Well, where would you like to start with docs?
I am just dropping a link in the chat to the blog post I wrote about how I became a technical writer. There we go. Yeah, so I was originally originally is not the correct word here, because I have planned on about 27 different careers. But the first one that stuck for more than a couple of years at a time was I was going to be a mathematician. I have graduate degrees in math, but it turns out that academics don't make any money, especially adjuncts. And that's what I was. And I mean, so like for reference, I made $23,000 a year in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Ooh.
And that's not like reasonable money anywhere in the US. But in the San Francisco Bay Area in particular, that's like way below poverty line type money.
Yeah.
And I was completely naive because I just assumed that my professors and so on made money that made sense. Like literally, I just assumed that was a thing. And it turned out no. You can only be an academic if you have a some other source of money, right? Like if your spouse makes more money than you do, or your parents support your lifestyle, or whatever. And so I was privileged enough to be able to take my time to make a decision about what I was going to do instead. And so I decided, well, like the most natural move seemed to be like into data science from math. And so I was going to do that. And that's when I learned the Python, and so on. And then, but I was kind of dragging my feet about the career switch. And I wanted to continue teaching. And then with the pandemic, with the like pivot to remote learning, I thought that I would be able to keep teaching. Like when I became a data scientist, I would still be able to teach like a section or two online. But then the university that I worked for went back to all in person. So went back to zero math classes online, which is a problem for all kinds of reasons. But not only that, I have highly reactive airways, and so I can't be in rooms without ventilation with 40 folks since COVID. And so I had to relinquish my classes that I was scheduled for. Like I had a whole, like everything was all scheduled for last spring. And I had to say, I guess it was about a year ago now that I finally had to say, okay, I guess if you're going to make these classes be in person with no other options, then I actually have to choose between potentially dying for this job that pays me $23,000 a year, or I have to do something else. I was like, okay, well, I guess it's time.
Yeah.
And that same week, or the same week that the semester was ending, and my heart was breaking about not teaching anymore. People on Twitter started talking about technical writing. And I sort of ignored it for a bit, and then I checked it out. This was a few days before Christmas, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds like me." Because if you look at the Google has a let me find a link to it. Google has a free course on technical writing, which I think I probably linked to on my blog post. I'm literally looking at my own blog post to try to find, there it is. And I will drop that in the chat too. This description from Google, Google's course about the field, and they say you need to write clearly in English, learn complex technologies relatively quickly, explain complex technologies in useful ways for the target audience, wield strong interpersonal skills, and understand code. Technical writers are rare hybrids possessing an uncommon mixture of talents. And I was like, oh, but that's me. And so, but I felt a little bit, I was pretty conflicted because I had already spent a couple of years like studying data science and saying that I was going to go into data science, and I didn't want to come across as flaky because it already was a pivot. Like I was going to be a mathematician, right? And then it was like, oh, okay, and now I'm going to actually be a data scientist. And then to then pivot again and be like, actually, it's going to be technical writing felt flaky. But then I decided, it's just, you got to be embracing your own actual talents as opposed to what you thought your talents were 2 years ago, makes a lot more sense. So I decided to do it. And I did Google's course, which is like self-paced, and it was pretty quick for me. And then from there, the how you become a technical writer sort of path has forks with like many tines, right? So I think everybody can benefit from that free Google course. Oh, I think I posted the wrong link there. Damn, I don't know. Sorry about that. I'll have to look for that in a minute. But so some technical writers write sort of maybe the biggest, the first fork is, do you want to be a technical writer who writes for, it's sort of determining who's your audience going to be. So I interviewed with a company that is a cable alternative company, like cable television alternative company.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Okay. And so their deal was, they were looking for a technical writer to be writing, it was more like the customer support docs, right? And so they were really concerned while talking to me that it wasn't a technical enough position for me. Like I wouldn't be happy in this role. And so I would be more likely to jump into a different role when I had the opportunity. And they were completely correct that that was my plan. So for them, the technical writer was in the marketing department.
Okay.
And so that's like one way of being a technical writer. So you can think about like the person who writes the documentation that is viewed by my cable box is broken. What do I do? That kind of thing. And then there are technical writers who work for whose audience will be developers instead of the customers. I mean, in the case of the company that I'm working for, our customers and their customers are developers, so it's like developers all the way down. But yeah, so that's one thing that you have to decide, is how technical you want to be with your technical writing. So I don't know about the path where you think, okay, I think I'd rather be the kind of technical writer that is embedded in a marketing team. I don't know anything about that because I didn't do it. I know the technical writer who's embedded in either a developer relations team or an engineering team. And so there are sort of two different ways of doing that as well. And yeah, so that's kind of the thing about how I got here. Oh, except I forgot the entire part where like I wrote a blog. And so entirely before I decided to become a technical writer, I had been maintaining this blog, the same blog I've already linked to, which was my I'm learning data science blog. And I actually didn't write any blog posts between the time that I decided to switch to becoming a technical writer and actually becoming one, because that process was only about 6 weeks.
So yes, lots and lots of questions, but also okay. Go here. And share my screen. Because I have questions, but I want to show everyone why I clicked the wrong button. I try to share a file, not the screen. Homie asked a great question of, Laura, you just curious, you seem like a social person. Is technical writing kind of isolated?
I think it depends a lot on your company. So my company is fully remote. And so, yes, it's kind of isolating because we're remote, but other companies that work in person, so you might have a DevRel team. So as a technical writer, there are more ways than just these two, but you're probably either on a developer relations team or an engineering team. And so either way, you're on a team. I am technically on the developer relations team within my company, but I also attend all the engineering meetings because the engineers are the ones that need to tell me what needs to go in the docs. And so on. So I'm also an entire hermit. And so I can realize that it's actually been 3 weeks since I have left my house and be like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. I can just stay here. And
I shouldn't laugh at this. I'm sorry. It's like this relatability that I'm giggling at.
And so it's perfect for me. So I'm a social person in the sense that I love chatting with y'all. But the idea, if this were a meetup in person, this would be much more draining for me. And I don't totally know why, but it's true.
Oh, I feel that. And that was such a great question, homie.
Yes.
On the fact that I could easily not leave my house for a week. I would love it. Although Tyler makes me leave the house. He's like, you're leaving. We are going to go get something to get you to leave the house. So he'll bribe me with thrift shopping to get me to leave the house. So he at least knows what will bribe me. It's either food or going thrifting. And I don't know, at least in Laura, I'm curious, a follow-up question from what you just said is I know for myself is at least getting like, once I start writing, it's a very, very, like, I have to finish it now, and yet a very calming and almost frantic at the same time experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go with
Mm-hmm.
that experience. Now, and I haven't read the article, y'all, so it might be in here. And I'm going to put a pin in this question, although it would be cool to see like how you get into writing and like your writing mode, because
I have a blog post about that too. Sort of.
sweet, please post it. Because I also, this was the question I was gonna have earlier, is if y'all take a look, and I find this so funny because like, funny, not really. Funny's not the right word, but like, if Ben is still watching, since they do the accessibility everything, this website is way more accessible than a lot, because you can listen to the article and you can double time it. And
Mm-hmm.
that makes me happy. So
I love Hashnode. That's
it
actually
is
one of the
Hashtag.
reasons
That was
that
going to be my next question.
that's one of the reasons that I use Hashnode instead of other possibilities, because of that feature.
Sweet. That is something that what we're debating. We are debating. I'm debating. Homie helps me debate, you should say, on going to Netlify, if Netlify has a tool like this
Um,
for their blogs.
so yeah, I don't know. I do. So this is under my domain,
Mm-hmm.
lauralingdon.io, because you can use your own domain for Hashnode.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't, like, you can make your site with Netlify and still have your blog on Hashnode
Yeah.
under your domain if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
That's
And I've
an
done that
option.
kind of stuff like with WordPress and stuff.
Mhm.
I just, as like, in case anybody wanted to know, if you want to get more visibility on things, you can do conical,
Canonical?
canonical,
Canonical.
canonical, canonical. Y'all, we're gonna make a clip out of this because this is important. I didn't know what it was. Although, okay, so if you go into, I'm gonna edit this one just because it's here, and scroll all the way down. Oh, I don't need to. It's like this button, and there's canonical.
Mhm.
Change meta tag canonical underscore URL if this post was first published somewhere else, like your own blog. So I actually have my blog page hidden because mine's, I like this look of it just being a landing page. But if I go here, this is the actual
Mhm.
where it was originally linked. And then you put the canonical link here. And
Mhm.
the reason you do this is because then you still have rights to the original post in case this other website ever goes down. And then Google doesn't get mad that you double posted something,
Right.
because it's saying, oh, hey, you acknowledge that you posted it somewhere else, because Dev 2 is a pretty well-known area that a lot of people post to, so you can still keep your own content. And so
Mhm.
that is why I'm asking as well.
Mhm.
And Ben has a more comments that, so no, I need I have found, because I have yelled. I don't really yell, but my exacerbated annoyance of reading out loud, and Ramon keeps telling me that I need to do it since becoming a streamer, and then also an MC, of like having to read things out loud. I'm like, I don't want to. Anyway, Ben says, so Netlify is really just a deployment target. So you can build your own website separately and then host it on Netlify. So I don't think Netlify will support listen to this article out of the box. And sometime we got to talk about search engine optimization. That's such a hella cool rabbit hole to go down. Yes. And
Mhm.
then something that also makes me think of SEO for search engine optimization is the fact that, if I remember correctly, an annoyance that Ben had is that people would use alt text for SEO and not for image description.
Mhm.
And I think that would be a really interesting topic to bring about SEO,
Mhm.
because SEO is important. It is really
Yep.
difficult. And it takes
Yeah.
time. Or is this
Mhm.
new saying that I don't know if I heard it somewhere, but consistency takes time. It's
Mhm.
really annoying.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yes.
I have not done any SEO. I have read a little bit here and there and just been like, "Oh my god, that sounds exhausting."
It's where, like, if I Google stuff, like I've noticed in my own, because this is what I do, y'all. I don't know if it's like Google myself just to see what is getting the best SEO.
Mhm.
Um and it's not bad, but I'm like, this
Mhm.
isn't me. This is not, I mean, I'm on this podcast, but that's somebody else's podcast.
Mhm.
And that's why it always like amazes me. Um, but developcado is something that I use very often.
Mhm.
And I'm a developcado is not the first post. It is developcado's practical field guide to saying fuck it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what? So it's a very interesting. Hey, Next Nation came out. That's exciting. Okay. Anyway.
So Ben has said that a great person to talk to about SEO from a dev's perspective is Monica Lent, and I had a newsletter from her. It might have been around the time that I was going to I was trying ConvertKit, I think, is what it was. Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, tons of information from Monica about SEO, and I am just I'm too tired.
Um, Ben, please introduce us, and also um, the other person that you introduced me to many, many moons ago that I was texting with. I believe she gave you. I hope you know who I'm talking about, just so that way I can. Oh, yes. Thank you, Ben. Now I know who to follow up with. I forgot their name. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Um, and Monica, we'll see if Monica will come on. I mean, we've had random, very well known people on the show, so who knows? Maybe Monica will say yes.
Mhm.
You never know. Okay, so thank you for the random. Let's go down the rabbit hole of accessibility. Now that I'm looking at your blog post, and I'm so excited about this. How would you say, like, if I'm like, I want to go get a freelance job of a technical writer and I need, and they have no, like, how do I say this? Do most companies have like something written and you have to rewrite it, or you just start from scratch, or how do you even go about it?
Uh, I guess I don't know how to address most. I guess okay, so probably unless you're getting hired by a company that is brand new baby startup, right? That probably there's something written down somewhere that needs to be revised and edited and built out from. Um, and yeah, so it's unlikely that you're getting hired to instantiate documentation where there existed exactly zero documentation beforehand. Probably that's not the case. I don't know if that answers your question, Jen.
Instantiate, represent as, or by an instance. I'm Googling words.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Um,
Like create from nothing.
oh, okay. So a lot of times you were creating from something and just updating stuff
Yeah.
or finding out information and making it consumable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How do people hand you stuff that they want documented? Like, how do you know what to document?
So, I mean, it'll depend a lot from team to team how this would work out.
Okay.
On my team, the way that it's working out is when I started, it was kind of a brand new baby startup because it was only 8 months old when I joined,
Oh.
but there were already, some docs. And so my like the first thing that I did really was actually an accessibility thing. Going through and fixing links because we had a lot of links that were like, click here, and here is hyperlinked for information about blah, blah, blah. And so then what that means is that if you're using a screen reader to see like or hear rather, a list of all of like the links on the page, like for navigational purposes, then you've got like 7 links that are all just here, here,
Mm-hmm.
here, here. And that's not useful at all. And so learning about like, okay, so what information should be in that hyperlink, and so rewording sentences so that they'll make sense, and putting the information that's useful into the hyperlink. And so that gave me kind of a tour of our entire docs base, because I was going through every single page to look at every single hyperlink and say, okay, so what would be, is this sufficient, or what would be what would be more useful, in this case for this hyperlink to read instead of here or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, and so that turned out to be great. And then, from there, we had kind of we pivoted our product a bit. And so it was like, okay, so now we need new docs for this new thing that we're doing. And that meeting is in 2 days. So it has not
Yay!
occurred. And not, I mean, I've done a lot more docs stuff like in the intermeeting time, but that was basically working with refining docs that already existed.
Okay.
And spending a lot of time looking at the docs for other sites. Actually, Netlify is one of them. I really like Netlify's docs. And sort of for 2 reasons. One is to get inspiration for how to do things and like what looks nice and so on, but also what would people expect? So, like, if most documentation sites have like a get started link with like a quick start, um, then people would expect that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to have that. And physically, like, where is that in the navigation? And usually it'll be like in the left hand navigation, like sidebar, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much toward the top. Whereas in my company, we actually had it kind of buried in a sub menu. So you had to like know which of our projects you wanted to work with before you could get to a quick start.
Ooh.
And so that meant you had to understand the differences between these projects and which did what and that kind of stuff. And there were a lot of discussions about naming of things, and so on, like things like that. So a lot more sort of philosophical stuff and like little fiddly things that don't feel like, it feels sort of like you're just, rearranging things. I mean, you are actually just
Mm-hmm.
rearranging things, but it's a lot of research into where would people expect to find this information? Where
Mm-hmm.
do we currently have this information? And how can I make this information conform to what people would expect so that they can have the best user experience possible? So I've been doing for the last like 6 months or so, mostly UX improvements to our docs, not actually so much rewriting the docs as rearranging the information, not just in the sidebar, but like within the pages themselves, just reorganizing the information to make it easier to access, both for literal accessibility and just for general, where do I, if I landed here, what where would I go, where would I think to look, and why am I here, you know?
So what would you do to hmm, I guess, like, how would you choose to organize that? And again, like, where did you get your information to? Like, I understand, I guess, the part where you're going through and making it more consumable, and I feel like that would
Mhm.
have to be a bit more intuitive than anything. Um, and also with the accessibility of the linking, and then also like the UX of making sure that it's consumable that way.
Mhm.
But a big part of why I'm asking is when I've had to do videos for companies in the past, people have just been like, "Hey, I'm going to record the screen grab so to talk you through it, meaning me, and then
Mhm.
I have to go re-record it with fanciness and talking through all of it." So is that kind of how, like, if somebody hands you a doc that needs updated, or if you need something updated or more detail of something? And also, I know this is a very multifaceted question, but I kind of think they go together. Of Does that mean that you have to physically go through the motions of the doc to make sure that the doc is correct?
Oh yes, oh yes.
Okay, interesting.
um yeah, so that's sort of what, I so that's sort of the other place that I've spent the majority of my time. um I did not already know anything about WebAssembly when I joined this company. So I had to learn about WebAssembly and I had to learn about our product. And our product has changed in some pretty fundamental ways. And so that has happened more than once, where I had to like spend some weeks, plural, just being like, so what are we building? Because
Yeah,
if I don't know what it is, good luck people reading the docs written by me, you know? Um, so when I am writing our docs, I go through, I would link our docs right now so that I could physically show you, but the thing is that they're the ones that are available are way out of date, because we're bringing out a new thing, um, and so on. So it's too bad. Next, in like 2 or 3 weeks, then I could show like the differences between what how our docs currently look and function and how our docs now function, or then now. So that actually might be a fun thing to do in a few weeks when
ooh.
that's finished, is I can show like
I
an
think that would,
iteration.
yeah, because I think, like, you've given us an idea
Mhm.
of, like, where to start on docs, just because I feel like this is a very, and y'all, I did do a stream many moons ago about docs and with diataxis diet,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that was a pretty cool way of setting this up, and I did really enjoy that stream. Yet I
Hmm.
feel like this is something that needs to be done, like, multiple times, because it is a theoretical, it is, as we I said earlier, like a bit of intuition. At least that's what I feel it is. That doesn't mean it is. um and then also the practice of it, what goes into it. So I feel like this is not going to be the end of the conversation.
No. I'm going to link a book called Docs for Developers,
Sweet.
which is, it's just incredibly helpful, for figuring out how to put your documentation together. There are lots of really good books. Actually, I'd link more. Okay, I'm going to just link yet another blog post. Hang on.
I dig it.
Okay, I have another blog post on my favorite technical resources and tech writing in general, or specifically.
As a side note, just telling Laura this before we stream next time is, Laura, we got to get you logged into StreamYard at the same time so they post to all three.
Yeah. How do we? Okay. I guess we can talk off.
Yeah, we'll do that next time because I'm realizing that you don't have access to it, and I'm like, oh, that's dumb. I need to make sure you have access to it because I'm copying and pasting them right now.
Oh.
So, which is fine, and I totally dig it. I'm just going, oh, I probably should have thought of that beforehand, but that's okay. That is totally fine.
Yeah, so lots of good books. That one I think is a great place to start docs for developers because it just gives like a really great kind of overview of. I mean, it's not just an overview; it's actually really quite specific. It's just, yeah, I would consider that. So when I used to homeschool my older kids, and in the homeschooling world, you very often had something you referred to as a spine, and you're like, yeah, so this is our spine, and then we're supplementing with whatever. And so like this particular some textbook or book or whatever would be like forming the basis of the content that you were covering for that particular topic, and then you'd be bringing in these supplemental resources. So I consider that my spine, the docs for developers book, and then everything else sort of comes out, like is sort of supplementary to that. The diataxis method is a strong contender for being like a co-spine, but that doesn't really make sense.
It could, it could be like connected to people.
Oh,
Maybe
for sure.
they're connected at the hips, so they have two spines up to two heads.
Oh, there you go. They're like Siamese twins.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also, posted, and this reminds me of somebody that could be really, really good to be on the show is Adam Duvander, because he runs Every Developer and talks about developer experience and developer marketing. And from what I've gathered, it's is so much of developer experience and developer marketing is the docs of how usable they are. And mattering on that, like you wouldn't think of that as necessarily marketing, yet if you want developers to use your product, the first thing they're going to look at is your docs, which is, yeah. Ben has a Ben likes the diataxis system, but they think that they're very, very insistent that their 4 categories should never mix or intermingle, whereas they prefer to think of them as helpful guidelines that you can break with intent.
Pretty same.
That's good because I'm not good at like just staying in my lane. I like to find rules to break them.
Okay. Yeah, so I like it to it's sort of a gut check for me. Like, okay, so should this content be in one of these 4 categories? And I've sort of like, for me, it's like almost all the time the 4 categories should be like sacrosanct. We'll just keep things in the 4 categories. But if there's a good reason for straddling a couple of categories, then that's okay. But it's sort of an opportunity for me to reflect upon, like, why do I think that this needs to straddle, like that this is a candidate for straddling these 2 categories? And is that like for my benefit because it's easier for me to write it? Or is it for the user's benefit And if it's for my benefit, that's not a good enough reason. But if it's for the user's benefit, that is a good enough reason. And that's kind of my decision boundary.
Ben, do you ever stream you making a doc? Because I honestly just want to like have one of you stream and talk out loud the process of you making it. Like I'll co-work with you at the same time, so that way I can just like get stuff done. Because I feel
when
like
I
that
started my stream, that is exactly what I was going to do.
really
The problem was that we used to be, what I was documenting was open source. And our pivot was to closed source.
Yeah.
And so I can't
Yeah.
stream it. But we still have an open source project, and that will be needing some documentation. And so that's coming, the docs for that will get updated after the new docs for the enterprise product are finished. So sometime in the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks, maybe, because of holidays, I should be working on the open source docs as well. And so those I can stream.
And I think that would just be, yes, Ben, keep us posted when you return from your hiatus. And I think that's like something that and I'll just selfishly say it, that could be like so helpful, is being able to just honestly see how somebody's doing it. Because that's something that I've noticed quite a bit, is people are like, yeah, I'm going to do this and go from XYZ. And I'm like, no, there's something.
Yes, that was exactly it. Yeah.
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 I honestly would. I would watch it.
Yeah.
I would co-work at the same time while one of you were doing that, because you both are entertaining. Is entertaining still a compliment when it comes to streaming?
It sounds like the kind of thing that it depends on who's saying it. Like, if a British person said it might be an insult.
Ooh.
But if an American says it, it's probably not.
You're making me think. They're making me think. And Bed says that they think it is too. I'm thinking a compliment, because this is something that I think streamers kind of need to have as a bit of entertainment. But at the same time, like if you're working on something, it's harder to be entertaining. So that being said, if y'all are working and need a co-working person to be the entertainment, I volunteer myself. So I'll answer the chats and stuff for you, so you don't need to. Or I'll be the one to ask you questions. Either one, I'll volunteer myself, because I have random stuff that I'm supposed to be working on, like posting podcast stuff.
Yeah.
And re-listening to all my own. Oh, Laura, I did.
Oh, I love that. Rebel for Hire.
Yes. Yes. I should get a shirt that says that. That would be fun. Anyway, but okay. Words. Think, Jen. Think. This was a serious question too. Nope, it's gone.
The streaming of the docs and co-working and
something about the show that that is it. Thank you. We got there. Do you know have chapters in YouTube? I know we talked about this, but I just learned this and why it's not intuitive.
Oh,
so I have
never done it.
So I put in chapters. That's where I was going with all of that. Because somebody actually posted about it on Twitter. And then I was like, what? Yeah, it's like not intuitive. And they're like, yeah. And then someone else shared it. And that's really helpful, y'all, because you have no idea who I'm talking about. So I'm honestly going through my notifications to see if I can find it again. Because somebody also shared their workflow as well, which I was really excited about. Yes. Copy. But also, I need to bookmark this one. Bookmark. Bookmark. Copy link. All right. So it's not intuitive at all. You actually have to put time codes in the chapters or time codes in the description, and you have to start with 00 as your first one so it knows where the beginning is. And I was like, that is it's not intuitive whatsoever. And that works.
It kind of makes sense to me. Sort of mapping it onto like a sidebar actually in the docs, because I've spent a lot of time on this in the last month. There has to be somewhere that you start, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, what are the options? And so basically that's what you're creating is a nav bar.
See, and that wasn't intuitive to me at all, because I am going on the back end, y'all, really quick. If I go into one of these videos and let's say that I want to add cards, which I think I need to do end stream. Yeah, and then I can add this, or I can add right here. This is where I thought you would do it, because you have to be on a timeline to be able to do it. Or add an element. I can add a playlist right there. That is where I thought it would be. That would just logically make sense to me.
Yep.
Because this is where you put all the other stuff. What you're saying also makes sense, but not to me in the way YouTube has it set up.
Sure.
But I now know, and I was very excited about that.
Yeah. There should be a tool, I think, is maybe what I'm getting from what you're saying. Instead of manually typing out the timestamps and so on, there should be a timeline where you're okay, so make this chapter 1 and that would start at 00 and go to whatever. Here's chapter 1, and that you're literally clicking on there's where chapter 2 begins, and click there's where chapter 3 begins. There should be a tool for sure. That should be the case.
But what they suggested in the tweet is from Parasocial Fix is that they put it in Descript, which I think we've talked about on this show before, to transcribe, and then it's easier to find the text where the segments start. And I was like, oh, this is... Anyway, I'm excited to start adding chapters and tags to them, because lives don't add tags as well.
If you have captions turned on in YouTube, then you can do it all in YouTube without using Descript.
Does YouTube allow you to see it as a full text file? Because I have yet to be successful on exporting my text file for captions.
I mean, you can just copy and paste it. But let me see, I'm just trying to look at one of mine. Okay. Oops. All right. You know what? I could just share my screen, and that would be better. Present share screen. This thing. Okay. Oops. Why can I not just... Okay. And in here, where are we? Oops.
We lost her. She will be back. But in the meantime, I don't know about y'all, but I have been loving Mondays with Laura. Miscellaneous Mondays. I feel like I always learn way more than I thought imaginable with Laura. Like, she's such a good teacher. And I know some people may not consider this a good thing, but she also always calls me out on my shit.
I didn't mean to close that tab.
That's okay. I was just saying that I always have fun with streaming with you, and you always call me out on my shit, which I really appreciate.
Do I?
You do, in a very kind way.
Oh, well, that's good. I
Yeah.
would prefer to be kind than not kind.
Yeah, it's a very kind thing. I think when people challenge you to be better in a kind way is my way of saying that they call you out on your shit, and I appreciate it. Okay,
Gotcha.
I have your share screen.
Here we go. Okay, so this is my stream from last week with Andy, and I'll mute that so that we're not doing double talking here. And we have the captions. And then where is it? There's a thing where you can see, oh, show transcript. And so it's already got the timestamps.
Oh.
And so you can just like literally like click here and it's already giving you the right times. So I feel like that would maybe be easier than Descript just because it's literally already in YouTube.
Yeah.
And also it's free, and I kind of think that Descript is not free for everything.
You are correct. And I am now going and seeing if I can do the same thing you did. And I feel like y'all don't see my screen for this one, so I'm not sharing it.
I have like just done select all and copied and pasted this into a text file before. But I don't think I think that for my brain anyway, this would be a better format than the different text file, separate text file.
Oh, you know what? I think if I remember correctly, I also tried this like way too quickly. Like after the
Oh, yeah, it takes hours for the transcript to get generated.
Yeah, and I think that was it. Because yeah, what you just said worked, and yeah, it doesn't let me copy and paste them the easiest, but it still does. So yeah. I'm gonna go verify. Yep, it worked beautifully. Thank you for showing me your tips and tricks. And that helps with knowing the exact time code to put as the highlight or the chapters. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Well, I feel like we talked about a lot today. A lot of random things. This is why I love Misc Monday.
Yes. For sure.
Because it's always learning, which is, I think, also really fun. So it's like it's a learning thing, and we get to talk about random shit. It's like
definitely,
it's all the happiness. Oh, homie said it's so cool that he actually brought out hardware.
Yeah, homie joined us. And that
Yay!
was super fun.
Yay!
Yeah. He showed all these different bits and pieces of different types of hardware and different systems like Raspberry Pi or microcontrollers, and like this is what you can do, or an example of a thing you can do with a microcontroller, and this is an example of a thing you can do with a Raspberry Pi, and different cool stuff.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's a good
Yep.
way of saying it, Ben. Misc
Yeah.
Monday, tips and tricks you needed but will use today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, another um, title that I had proposed for this series was Brain Dump Mondays, and it's a little bit like so I have never I had my first two kids when I was really young, and so I never actually attended parties of like the late teens early 20s variety kind of thing, but I have seen it on television, so it must be true, right? Where people like dump various kinds of alcohol or whatever into like a bowl and make
Mhm,
some kind of thing, and I feel
mhm.
that's sort of like what we're doing with our like brain dump Mondays, is like we just sort of like everybody dumps their like random facts and tips
Yeah.
and tricks in the bowl, and then we all get to share, except it's not gross.
Yeah, I like Misc Mondays better than Jungle Juice, y'all. I'm just gonna
Jungle juice. I didn't know it had a name.
yeah.
Nice.
So, yes.
Mhm.
Surprisingly helpful ideas and tips you do want to talk about. That is a good
Mhm.
play on words. I like that one, especially with my
Mhm.
other show. That is
Mhm.
fun. That is fun.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Uh, so that's all I had for today. Is there anything else you wanted to go over today, Laura?
I think I had some things in mind last week, and it just got obliterated by the weekend. So
I get that.
maybe I will remember, and we can
Tweet
talk
me.
about it
We'll
next
put it
month.
public and then, like other people can add to it.
What's that? Put what?
Ideas of us to talk about on
Oh,
Mondays. Like
oh,
people can
yeah,
tweet
yeah,
us
yeah.
and then we
We
can
could. Mhm.
we can
I was
like
going
get
to say we
ideas
could
from
have like
that.
a type form, but tweeting would make sense too.
I mean, type form would actually keep it in the right same area.
Hmm.
I dig it. I dig it.
Hmm.
I'll work on that.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week. For those in the US, I hope you have a good holiday week. And
Hmm.
yeah, we will see you next week.
Yeah. Bye
Bye.
bye. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I wanted to raid. I always forget that I want to raid.
Oh, yeah.
Raiding is good for the soul. Let's see if anybody's live right now. Ooh, we got, all right. Y'all are being rated. See you in a bit, or not see you in a bit, whatever. Oh, it has the countdown. The countdown. Raid now.